is a presentation of ESPN on ABC.
Welcome to ESPN College Football presented by Arby's. A Big 12 showdown in Fort Worth as TCU plays its conference opener, welcoming the 3-1 Texas Longhorns. TCU has dominated this series the last decade, winning 7 of 9, including 3 in a row at home. But Texas comes into this one looking like an offensive powerhouse the last couple weeks. And hi everybody, Dave Pasch alongside Dusty Dvorak, Tom Luginbill down on the field in a moment. There may not be a quarterback, Dusty, playing any better than Texas's Casey Thompson right now. In fact, through 4 games, his quarterback rating is higher than several recent Heisman Trophy winners, including Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield.
Pretty good company, and Casey Thompson has been fantastic for this offense. What a move it was for Steve Sarkisian to move on from Hudson Card, and it was really the play of Casey Thompson on the field. He just moves the ball down the field and gets points. 24 of his last 27 drives have resulted in scores. He's shown poise, he's shown playmaking ability, and speaking of playmakers, none bigger than Bijan Robinson. Really has everything in his repertoire. Catches the football, contact balance, speed, home run hitter, but he's not the only dynamic running back we'll see today. As we kick it down to our third leg, Tom Luginbill, TCU, they got a pretty outstanding running back in their own right, Tom.
Well, they absolutely do, Dusty. In fact, Zach Evans may be the best running back in college football that you don't know. In the 2020 class, he was the #1 ranked running back in the entire country. Bijan Robinson, #3. We've got 2 dynamic runners here, and if TCU offensively hopes to keep pace with the Longhorns, Zach Evans is going to need to touch the ball between 22, 25 times in some way, shape, or form to give the Horned Frogs a chance.
TCU, Tom, trying to knock off Texas yet again. Kickoff from Fort Worth is coming up after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to Amon G. Carter Stadium. You're watching the Big 12 Conference on ESPN. Dave Pasch, Dusty Dvorak, Tom Luginbill. A packed house here at TCU. Steve Sarkisian and Gary Patterson meeting as head coaches for the first time. Sark, one of the top offensive minds in the game. Gary Patterson, one of the best defensive coaches. But TCU lost last week. Not only lost, got hammered and gave up 350 rushing yards against SMU. And this is a Texas team that ran for 336 and scored 70 against Texas Tech. Texas won the toss, deferred, so Cameron Dicker will boot it deep to J.D. Spielman. And Spielman will run it out. And he crosses the 20-yard line. Spielman has room. Inside the 40. Inside the 20. And they finally get him down inside the 15-yard line.
Wow, what a start for TCU. It's outstanding blocking by the special teams unit, hat on a hat. And you see DeMarcado, kind of the lead blocker as he gets up on the kicker. And Spielman hits the sidelines, putting this Horned Frog offense in prime real estate to start this game.
Kalen Robinson saved the touchdown as J.D. Spielman, 3-time All-Big Ten performer at Nebraska, transferred to TCU with an 87-yard kickoff return to the 13-yard line of Texas. Max Duggan is the quarterback for TCU, 2-0 in his career against the Longhorns. He's an excellent runner. He'll keep it here on first down and picks up a couple.
Max Duggan's a tough, physical runner. He's also got speed, but not afraid to stick it up in between the tackles. Expect a heavy dose today of quarterback run game.
Had the game-winning rushing touchdown against Texas last year. 3 total touchdowns in the win here 2 years ago against the Longhorns. Go out of empty on 2nd down and 9. On the end around, it's Evans breaking tackles, and Zach Evans showing off his skills here in the opening minute for a touchdown. We talked about the recent history of TCU and Texas, regardless of what the records are coming in. Are we headed there again? I know it's only a minute gone by, but Longhorn fans have got to be wondering. Griffin Kell makes it 7-0 Horned Frogs.
Well, let's watch where they put Zach Evans. Going to move him around, and they want to attack the edges of this defense. Going to start here in the slot, motion him, and then jet sweep to the edge. And it's just tough, physical running from Zach Evans. Brockemeyer's got him wrapped up, but Zach Evans refuses to go down, continues to keep the legs churning, runs through the arm tackle. But this entire thing set up by an outstanding job by the kick return team. Excellent blocking in the speed in the open field from J.D. Spillman. Wow, what a start for TCU.
J.D., who is one of 6 adopted children by Vikings general manager Rick Spielman. J.D.'s uncle Chris in the College Football Hall of Fame. J.D. born in Chicago. He and his older brother Ronnie were adopted when they were very young. 2 of 6 former foster children that the Spielmans, Rick and his wife Michelle, adopted. J.D. is a great musician. In fact, we are listening to some of his stuff pregame, and actually Gary Patterson at practice will often play J.D.'s music over the loudspeaker to get the team fired up.
Just an awesome story, and as you said, that young man, he can flow.
Deshaun Jameson, one of the best return men in the country, now for Texas with running room. Gets slowed down by the kicker, but an excellent return out to the 44. 39 yards. So here comes Casey Thompson, 3rd career start. Did not start the first 2 games of the season, but he has been on fire. Comes from a football family with his dad Charles. Played at Oklahoma, Kendall in college football as well at the D1 level. He was the backup to Sam Ehlinger last year, but started the Alamo Bowl, threw 4 touchdowns in that game. And first player in Texas history to be responsible for 6 touchdowns and throw for over 300 yards in a single game. Did that last week as they rolled over Texas Tech.
He's injected confidence into this offense and has taken his game to an extremely high level.
Replace Hudson Card as the starter 2 weeks ago against Rice. He'll spin it downfield here on 1st down. Got a man. Overthrows the intended receiver though. Going for Joshua Moore, and that was there. Just couldn't put it on him.
When we anticipated talking with Steve Sarkisian yesterday, they were going to take their shots down the field, and Joshua Moore with that speed gets past the safety Van Zandt, and just a touch overshot by Casey Thompson to start this game.
Here's Bijan Robinson with his first touch, lowers the shoulder and bounces off of tacklers for a 9-yard gain into TCU territory.
They expect Texas to get up on the football, go quickly. SMU used a lot of tempo last week, did not allow TCU to get lined up and get ready.
On 3rd down and a yard, quarterback sneak from Casey Thompson. That'll move the chains to the 45. Steve Sarkisian in his first road Big 12 game. Spent the last 2 years, of course, at Alabama. Won the Broyles Award, top assistant in college football. 3rd head coaching chance for him. Previously at Washington and USC. The loss this year came at Arkansas. Doesn't look as bad right now. Swing pass to Robinson out in space. He's inside the 30-yard line and all the way to the 28-yard line. Robinson, who scored a touchdown out of the backfield as a receiver last week.
So dangerous out in space. They find different ways to get him going. Excellent job on the perimeter blocking by Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington. You see the open field playmaking ability from Bijan Robinson on the 2nd play.
No one has averaged more yards from scrimmage over the last 8 games, going back to last year, than Robinson, who spins away from a tackler, and they finally drag him down at the 21. So the 2 guys we touched on outside of the quarterback in the open, Robinson and Evans, showing incredible agility here early on and ability to break tackles. 2nd and 2. Robinson again, 1st down, knocked down at the 13-yard line.
No, Dusty, this is the same problem that plagued TCU on defense last week versus SMU. Missed tackles and not being able to get off blocks within the front. We've seen a lot of yardage after ankle tries.
Robinson, another carry. Here's that spin again. We'll see the jump cut as well, a gain of 3.
Yeah, this Texas offensive line, back to your point, Tom, I mean, they have really taken their game to the next level over the last couple of weeks, and here to start this opening drive, good push, good movement against this TCU front.
8th play of the drive coming up for Texas. Over 600 yards of total offense each of the last 2 games. The second time that's happened in Longhorn history. The other was the national championship season of 2005. Roschon Johnson in the game now at running back. He'll get the carry here. Johnson to the 5, comes up a yard short. Tackled by Patrick Jenkins, 3rd down.
Roschon Johnson been a key piece. We'll focus so much on Bijan, but Roschon Johnson, the former quarterback, one of the heart and soul leaders of this team. He will come in, get you those tough, hard-fought yards, and don't be surprised if we see a little wildcat here with him at quarterback going with Bijan Robinson.
There it is, because you see Casey Thompson at the top of your screen. Texas did have a tight end running on the field late. So 3rd down and 1, wildcat coming. And a penalty marker down. Movement. Texas was all messed up on that play from get-go.
Prior to the ball being snapped, false start, number 18, offense, 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
So keep in mind as they move it back 5 yards, Texas is number 2 in the country in 3rd down conversion and number 1 in the red zone. 19 of 20, all 19 conversions have been for touchdowns.
Big piece of that. Casey Thompson been so poised in the pocket, surveying, working through his progressions, and finding the open man. Watch for Xavier Worthy in motion, top of your screen.
He had 3 touchdowns last week. Thompson looking the other way, and he's sacked back at the 21-yard line. Dylan Horton got back there to take him down.
They've been so happy with what they've gotten from Dylan Horton. Watch him just come inside on an inside move, working on 70 Christian Jones, and the Red Sea parts, and an easy sack for Dylan Horton to get his defense off the field on 3rd down.
The first field goal attempt in the last 3 games for Texas, a 38-yard try for Cameron Dicker, who's 1 for 3 on the season. Snap is high. The kick hits the upright and goes through.
The kick is good.
So the timing off, but Dicker able to get the carom for 3 points, and it's 7-3 here in Fort Worth. As you go back to TCU's first year in the Big 12, look at Texas's success against everybody else, averaging 31 points per game. Now they haven't won a Big 12 title during that time. Look at TCU. They're 2-7. That's the worst against any Big 12 opponent. Gary Patterson's winning percentage over the last 25 years is better than anybody's against Texas in all of college football. They kick it away from Spielman after that 87-yard return last time. This will be a touchback. And here comes Max Duggan again. He's from Iowa. Dad, longtime high school coach. Council Bluffs. Was the Gatorade Player of the Year back in 2018. Had a heart procedure last year. Had a heart condition that was something not discovered until COVID testing. It's something that he had since childhood, and he's been able to come back from that. Had a good game last week, but in defeat. And 2-0 in his career against Texas. From the 25-yard line, he'll throw it, and it's incomplete, but a flag down going for Tay Barber over the middle.
I think this is going to be an area that they attack all throughout the course of the day. They love what they have inside with Tay Barber, J.D. Spielman, Darius Davis. Great speed, and they're going to challenge.
Pass interference, number 28, defense. The ball will be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
They're going to challenge this Texas secondary. Look at Jaron Thompson here. Get him with the hold, little contact as that ball is being delivered. Not a lot, but enough to draw the flag. One thing with Max Duggan, we talked about his toughness, his leadership, excellent runner. Needs to be more consistent. Deep shots and intermediate throws for this offense to really start clicking.
He'll throw it again here. And dumps it off out of the backfield, Evans. And good play there by Overshown to make the play after a gain of about 3.
Really good open field tackle by Marvian Overshown. That's when he's at his best, out in space. The former safety, now turned linebacker, with a nice job getting down one of the more talented running backs in the Big 12.
Here's a wide receiver screen to Barber, and that's well played by Texas. Darian Dunn was back there first, and then Anthony Cook on the takedown. It'll be third down here for TCU.
Really seeing TCU try to attack the edges of this Longhorn defense. Well leveraged there by Dunn.
Texas not lined up. Overshown had his back turned to the play, and that's why the receiver was wide open, but the pass was off the mark. Man, Zach Evans was running free down the sideline. Overshown got turned around. Duggan with a bad misfire. Fourth down.
We just keep seeing this, don't we, Dusty? From Max Duggan, you just can't miss these opportunities.
Huge mistake there, Tom. He steps up in the pocket. They had Texas disheveled, not lined up, not ready. He could have walked, ran, and, gotten the first down easily with his legs.
Right.
Had his running back wide open on the far sideline. I mean, just a missed opportunity for Max Duggan and TCU offense.
And you wonder, did the ball slip out of his hand or something, the way it came out of there? But to your point, I mean, he could have run and gotten the first down because Overshown just didn't see the play. Not a good punt, but it takes a huge TCU hop, but the Horned Frogs got to get down there to keep it from going into the end zone, and they do at about the 2-yard line. Nook Bradford at the 1 was there for the Horned Frogs.
Back to that last third down, a missed opportunity. You see Overshown with his arms up in the air trying to get the call in. TCU got them unready, and he bumps into his own defender right there. As you see Max Duggan step up in the pocket, try to deliver that pass. Could have easily ran for the first down, had 2 wide open targets, and missed opportunity. Did not take advantage of Texas not being ready for that snap.
Texas has the Red River Showdown next week against Oklahoma over in Dallas. First down for Texas inside its 1-yard line. Bijan Robinson's going to line up about 7 yards deep in the backfield here. Robinson out to about the 5, gain of 4 on first down to give Texas some breathing room.
Dusty, this is the first road game since getting dismantled by Arkansas over 3 weeks ago, and for the first time in 2 weeks, Texas isn't having things go their way initially.
Robinson again, and that was probably the best job TCU's done against him yet. Wyatt Harris met him in the hole. They have not punted in almost 10 quarters. In fact, 27 consecutive drives, third most since 2005. Third down and 4 coming up.
We asked Sark yesterday, has he ever done that in his career? And he says, no, I can't ever remember a time where an offensive line has gone this long without punting. Big third down, backed up here.
Well, their field goal team was off a little bit when they just kicked and made it because it hit the upright, but it was a bad snap. And Thompson in trouble, gets hit as he gets rid of it, and it's broken up incomplete on a huge stick by TJ Carter. Jordan Whittington got lit up, and here will come the first punt in 2.5 games.
Well, Gary Patterson dialed up some pressure. They brought the corner blitz, it got picked up, and TJ Carter, the Memphis transfer, separates man from ball. Big time hit over the middle to create that punt.
And Gary Patterson running down the sideline to call timeout, and he did just in time. There's only 9 guys on the field for TCU. So Patterson, furious, has to burn a timeout here with the special teams group not ready. I mean, they didn't have 10.
College football on ABC is presented by Arby's. We have the meats.
TCU fans have celebrated a lot here when playing against Bevo and Texas. Longhorns just punted for the first time in almost 10 quarters, but a booth-initiated review as to whether TJ Carter committed a targeting violation on Jordan Whittington, and they're still looking at it. It's been a couple minutes now, and they have not made a decision yet. Crown of the helmet, you think?
It's going to be so close, Dave. To me, I don't think that should be targeting. Does he use a piece of the crown of his helmet, as you see right there? Yes. So this is going to be an interesting judgment call. It could be a huge, huge impact if TJ Carter's lost.
It has been determined that number 7 for TCU committed a foul for targeting using the crown of his helmet. Number 7 has been disqualified.
See,
there will be a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down, Texas.
We've moved, though, from the part of safety to where it's damaging the game. From this standpoint, here's TJ Carter. He makes a play to break up a pass, gets called for targeting, which was initiated by the booth, not called on the field, and now he's done for the day. We need to change this to levels of targeting, where if it is a deliberate attempt to injure or clearly a dirty play, you're gone. But if it's a level 1, where it's a play like that, sure, fine, call a penalty because we're about safety, but don't kick the kid out of the game.
Completely agree, and it's a bang-bang play, and his head was down. Letter of the law, that is targeting. I'm with you. We've had this in our games earlier this season. I hate the ejection aspect of this rule.
There's nothing malicious about that.
And it's going to really impact the secondary for TCU. They're already short safeties now without a key contributor, TJ Carter.
Thompson on the half roll. Slips a tackler and keeps it. Has a ton of running room. Thompson past the 45 all the way into TCU territory. He loses the ball, but out of bounds. Finally tracked down by Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, but after a huge run of 40 yards.
Watch this move by Casey Thompson. O'Shawn Mathis barreling down on him, a little bit out of control. Just whoop, out of the way and off to the races, following his blockers, and a huge pickup for Casey Thompson. We've talked so much about him as a runner. He's also a real weapon. He's talked so much about him as a passer, but he's also a real weapon as a runner. Big time pickup for Thompson.
He's a guy that the players follow. Swing pass here out in space, and a tackle for a loss by Caesar against Joshua Moore. But look, it took some guts for Steve Sarkisian to go from Hudson Card, very talented freshman who started the first 2 games, to go to Casey Thompson. But he told us again yesterday, I did it because I just felt the team responded more to Thompson.
I mean, he's brought energy, life, confidence, and all he does is lead drives the resultant points. The leader of this football team.
Robinson hit in the backfield, and down he goes. 2 consecutive plays in the backfield by TCU defenders. That one nooked Bradford, another negative play for the Longhorns.
Well, it's also Dylan Horton getting up the field, creating that penetration. And then you see Bradford finishing off Bijan Robinson. Big 3rd and long situation for this Texas offense.
And when TCU has a good defensive team, they get a lot of sacks and tackles for a loss. We didn't see that last week, but seeing it here today. They come after Thompson, gets hit as he throws, but it's a strike. Going to be close to the first down. Joshua Moore with the catch. Let's see where they spot it. Just short. 4th down.
Well, Gary Patterson dialing up pressure again on 3rd down, and Casey Thompson stood in there strong and delivered a strike to set up 4th down. And you got to imagine with Steve Sarkisian, he's looking to go for this.
That was a great throw. Got absolutely drilled. They're 6 of 9 on 4th down this season.
Got Roschon there in motion. Bet he's a lead blocker.
No, he's going to go under center, take the snap, getting pushed from behind, and that's going to get the first down. So Roschon Johnson, you saw there come in motion, just go right under the center, and then watch Bijan Robinson come hit him in the backside to get him across that line to gain.
Got to appreciate the creativity and different ways in which Steve Sarkisian has utilized Roschon Johnson so far this year. Well executed by the Texas offense.
9th play of the drive from inside the 30-yard line. Robinson motioning back into the backfield with Casey Thompson here on 1st and 10. Robinson up the middle, able to break another tackle and another one. And a house call for Bijan Robinson. Touchdown, Texas. 27 yards. And over his last 6+ games, Bijan Robinson has 14 touchdowns, 10 on the ground. That doesn't happen without the targeting call that kept that drive alive, and the Longhorns take the lead. Injured player down.
A 99-yard touchdown drive capped off there by Bijan Robinson. Watch how slippery he is. As you see jump cuts, you see making guys miss, getting skinny through the hole, and the speed into the end zone. Wow, what a great run by Bijan Robinson. Really good blocking off the right side. 68, Derek Kerstetter washed that down, and a nice cut by Bijan Robinson before he gets into the open field.
You know, Dusty, yesterday when Gary met with us, he talked about how you tackle Bijan Robinson. He goes, we got to tackle him low. We got to tackle him from the waist down. They've only been able to successfully do that one time on that tackle for loss 3 plays ago. Everything else, they can't get a beat on him.
Left guard Denzel Okafor, the injured Texas player, will be back to Fort Worth in a moment. 9 rushing yards already for Texas, 27 on that last run by Bijan Robinson. Very humble young man. Had a great conversation with him yesterday. And remember, TJ Carter called for targeting that kept the drive alive as Texas was going to punt. Now, Gary Patterson had to call timeout because he did not have enough guys on the field before that punt. So you wonder, did that give the officials more time to initiate the booth review? Now, Patterson had to call the timeout because he didn't have 11 on the field, but you wonder if that impacted TJ Carter and whether he gets ejected.
Let's take a look at this touchdown run. You're going to see, as we look at it, O'Shawn Mathis, he'll be outside. He stays wide. Watch Kerstetter. It's an outstanding block getting up to the second level of Wyatt. So as Mathis stays wide, Bijan makes a great cut inside. You see the miss by Van Zant, the miss by Nook Bradford, and it's off to the races for Bijan Robinson. But 68, Derek Kerstetter, really good key block getting to that second level, sealing off Wyatt Harris to help allow the path for Bijan Robinson. And we'll see these two guys going at it all day. O'Shawn Mathis, one of the outstanding pass rushers in the Big 12, and Derek Kerstetter, really the heart and soul of this Texas offensive line. Had a brutal leg injury a season ago, and he texted Sark after the year, and he said, Coach, I'm coming back. I'm taking advantage of this extra year. And Sark can watch the Alamo Bowl, and obviously Kerstetter didn't play, so he's like, I don't know much about this guy, but man, he sure is thankful he's got the leader of his offensive line intact and really starting to get confidence playing some good ball.
See if they give J.D. Spielman a shot at a big return earlier. Nope, it'll be a touchback. Let's go to Kevin Agandi in the studio. Georgia's they've had great players, especially recently, but they may have more dudes on this team than we've seen.
Their defense is scary good. It starts in the middle of Jordan Davis, but they got NFL talent all over that side of the ball.
So on first down, here's Evans between the tackles. Good run for Zach Evans, originally committed to Alabama, 4 100-yard rushing games in his last 5, and he's the active leader in FBS in yards per carry. Averages 8 yards an attempt. He got 6 on first down. They'll give it to him again. Running room across the 40 and near midfield. Big gain that time, 16 yards.
Well, the center, Steve Avila, good push inside on the nose tackle Coburn, and a quality cut. And you see the downhill speed from Evans.
3 straight carries. That time they got him, tripped him up. At the point of attack, Devondre Sweat there for Texas to knock him down.
Dusty, he's so decisive. I'm standing behind the offense right now, and everything is one cut, downhill, shoulder square, and he's so fast through the hole that he bypasses the linebackers. They can't see him.
Smooth too, Tom.
Yes.
Smooth whenever he runs with the football.
And here comes a trick play, and the ball's on the ground, and it's picked up by Texas. Recovered by Deshaun Jamison and taken down to the 22-yard line. It was fumbled by Darius Davis. Looked like he was going to try to throw it, just lost the handle and turned it over.
Wow, huge mistake here by TCU. And Deshaun Jamison, right place, right time. It looked like Darian Davis was going to be able to get to the perimeter if Duggan could get a block. Terrible exchange there between Miller and Davis. And a heads-up play there by Jamison to get that ball clean and pick up some extra yardage after the recovery. And now that TCU defense that's got to be tired after being on the field that previous drive, right back out there to try to slow down Casey Thompson and this Longhorn offense.
And they've been getting mauled too. Tough to beat this Texas team with that offense when you're turning it over deep in your own end. Thompson facing pressure, try to dump it off to Marcus Washington, and the pass is incomplete. There were two TCU defenders back there.
O'Shawn Mathis, Dylan Horton, the bookends. See that left arm come in from Mathis. Good pass rush. Able to alter that throw from Casey Thompson.
Mathis, preseason All-American, 9 sacks last year, good for 5th in the country. They needed a play like that there in first down because Washington was open. Here's Bijan Robinson, very patiently waiting down to the 20-yard line. So 3rd and long coming up for Texas.
So far to this point, we've seen Gary Patterson on 3rd down situations bring pressure, playing a lot of man-to-man coverage. Can they hold up in man-to-man against these Texas wide receivers?
Well, and they've gotten home too, Dusty. They've affected the quarterback so far here in the first quarter, especially on 3rd down.
At Texas 1 for 4, Tom, on 3rd down. Remember, number 2 in the country coming in 3rd down conversion percentage. They're going to go out of an empty set here on 3rd down and 7. Thompson talking to his offensive lineman. The play clock is down to 1. They snap it in time. Pressure off the edge, and the pass is incomplete. It was intended for Bijan Robinson. That was blown up on the perimeter by TCU's defense, and so 4th down.
Gary Patterson likes to bring pressure again. Ball has to come out quick from Casey Thompson. And Bijan unable to catch that ball clean on the perimeter. Huge stand right there for the TCU defense after the turnover.
Cameron Dicker, who had not attempted a field goal in the last 2 games, made a 38-yarder earlier on a snap that was high, and the ball hit the left upright and ricocheted in. This one a lot more clean, right down Main Street from 38 yards. So it's 13-7. Week 5 of college football Saturday rolls on with a pair of big SEC matchups on ESPN and the app. At 6 Eastern time, number 10 Florida is at Kentucky, followed by Auburn and LSU from Death Valley. Going back to that Florida game, Dusty, the Gators are 33-1 against Kentucky going back to 1987. Will it be 34-1 after today?
I think so. I respect that Kentucky team a lot. But man, what Florida's doing, running the football, line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball, they look really good. I think it's going to be a close, hard-fought game, but I think Florida finds a way to get the win. How about that game in Death Valley? Man, Tom Luganville would love to be there tonight, huh, Tom? It's going to be quite the scene in Baton Rouge.
I'm telling you, man, night games in Baton Rouge are special. I just can't believe when I heard last week that Auburn had not won there since 1999. Wow. I mean, it just sounds impossible.
But Auburn almost lost last week. We'll see how it responds in Baton Rouge for a game that will kick about 8 local. Be a touchback here. Let's go to the studio and check in with Kevin. I know it wasn't easy against Rutgers, Kevin, but man, Michigan feels for real this year.
Line of scrimmage, offensive, defensive line is for real. They run it as well as anybody, and if McNamara can get going, watch out.
TCU turning it over on its last possession, but Texas only got 3. Duggan with time, taking a shot, and it's pulled in at the 45-yard line by Johnston. There is a flag down in the backfield. An offensive lineman lost his helmet, the left tackle. Unless that's a penalty on Texas, the left tackle, Obina Eze, would have to come out of the game for a play.
Personal foul, illegal hands to the face. Number 43, defense. The 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. Automatic First down.
Right, so they get almost.
For 75, they remain in the game because his helmet was removed due to a foul.
Right, so he gets to stay in the game, and they almost get 40 yards because of it.
Got to keep those hands out of the face mask area clearly. Grabs the helmet, rips it off. I like the throw there by Max Duggan. Puts plenty of air underneath it and finds his big target, Quentin Johnston. Need to get him going. He's a mismatch outside for this Frogs offense.
Just like that, they're in Texas territory. And Duggan will keep it and get slammed to the ground after maybe a gain of 1. Sweat was there for Texas along with Ovi Agofu, a Notre Dame transfer.
Texas so big on the interior of that defensive line. Sweat goes 335, Coburn 346, and you see the athleticism there by Sweat. Cross phrase to center, make a nice play at the line of scrimmage.
So 2nd and 10. Texas stacking the box. Duggan to throw, and the pass is caught inside the 20. Great grab by Tay Barber. He paid for it. A rib shot as he made the catch down to the 15-yard line. 13-yard gain. Foster with the big hit for Texas. And will they look at that to see if there was targeting by B.J. Foster?
That pass sailed a little bit on Max Duggan. Forced Barber to go up into the air and get it, expose those ribs as you referenced. But how about the concentration and toughness to finish that catch? No targeting there, all shoulder from B.J. Foster. It's an outstanding job by Tay Barber to complete that catch after taking that vicious blow.
23-yard gain down to the 15-yard line. Barber had 7 catches in the win against Texas last year. Game that came down to the end. TCU won in Austin. Texas is ranked number 9. A goal line fumble by Texas in that game. Barber hops to his feet. We talked about some of the other games going on tonight in the SEC. Coming up next here on ABC, Oregon, Stanford. And how about the start for Baylor? 4-0, 2-0 in conference play and ranked, going to Oklahoma State tonight.
That's a fascinating game to me. 2 4-0 Big 12 squads. You know, Baylor's second year of Dave Aranda. They bring in Jeff Grimes, that outside stretch zone running scheme. Gary Bohannon's been good. It'll be a fun one tonight in Stillwater.
DeMercado and Miller are both in, so Zach Evans has not come back in. Now they do like to play a number of running backs. First down. Trying to get the edge is DeMercado, and he's cut down at the 14-yard line. Good tackle by Jaron Thompson.
Well, here comes Evans back in the ball game now.
It's a great story. Tom talked about the recruiting process with Evans, guy that dealt with some immaturity, but we were also told his grandfather, who he's very close with, passed away towards the end of his senior year. And since he's been at Texas, they provided a great support system for him. He's become one of the leaders. Great student, 3.75 GPA. One of the team leaders. We saw him high-fiving young kids down on the field before the game. Gets the carry here, stacked up at about the 10. Gain of 3.
And he came to TCU for stability and structure. And credit Gary Patterson and his staff. They have put a good support system around him, and it's allowed him to flourish here in his second season in Fort Worth.
Yeah, Dusty, not only was he our #1 ranked running back in 2020, at one time he was a #1 ranked overall player. And Dave, to your point, had some off the field issues that needed to be addressed and has really gotten it together here in Fort Worth.
Meanwhile, Carter Ware, the tight end, just dropped to the ground at the 15-yard line. Kind of awkward landing, but he says to the guys, I'm good, and runs off. But they may need to check him out a little bit further. So big 3rd down and 6 here. TCU trying to get momentum back in the final minute of the opening quarter from the Texas 11-yard line. They've won 6 of the last 7 against the Longhorns. 3 straight here at home. The last time they lost to Texas in Fort Worth was back in 2013.
A lot of speed there. That trips bunch set.
Duggan looking that way, still looking, now comes back to the right, has a completion, and has a touchdown. Spielman gets into the end zone to give TCU a tie game. How about J.D. Spielman had that huge kick return to start the game, and now an 11-yard touchdown catch his second of the season.
Little spin move at the goal line and clearly into the end zone. What a start to this game for J.D. Spielman.
It's a guy that had 3 special teams touchdowns when he was at Nebraska, was banged up last year when he transferred. But he's come up big here in this opening quarter. I mean, to beat an offense like Texas, at least the way the Longhorns are playing, you need explosive plays. They're getting that from Spielman. Not sure why this is taking so long. He clearly got the ball across, but we're good now. They're looking at that left arm of JD there. Griffin Kell to give TCU the lead here. (14-13) Horned Frogs.
Let's take a look at this touchdown. Going to be right over here. It's just going to be a drag all the way across the field. What I love here is Max Duggan starts to his left. It's covered, zone coverage underneath. And you see J.D. Spielman continue his route running away from the defender overshown. And Max Duggan, under a little bit of pressure, goes back to his right, was poised, delivered a good pass, and Spielman caps it off with a nice touchdown.
Sunday NFL Countdown will be live from Gillette Stadium for Tom Brady's return to Foxborough. Just saw a tweet a moment ago. Gronk will not be there, injured. But Brady, of course, will have a one-on-one interview with the future Hall of Famer tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. And then on Monday Night Football, how about the Raiders? 3-0. And they're in Los Angeles to take on the Chargers at SoFi. Our celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month continues with Monday Night Football, 8 Eastern on ESPN and ESPN Deportes. I'll be at SoFi tomorrow. I've not been to that stadium yet. Super Bowl is there this year. It's supposed to be spectacular. So it'll be fun to see that on Monday Night Football.
No question. You're going to have a heck of a ball game on your hands, Dave.
Cards Rams, both unbeaten. Here is Jamison. He had a good kick return for Texas earlier. Trying to find some room, and he's got it. And again, the kicker makes the tackle. Griffin Kell's made 2 maybe touchdown saving tackles. 38-yard return. Here's Kevin. Wow, man, the way Arkansas has been playing. There was a flag down. It's over in front of the Texas bench, right on the sideline.
During the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 23, Texas. The player pushed the player into the bench area. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. It's first down, Texas.
There are 2 number 23, so not sure which one that was. Dave Barron or Jarrett Smith. But that's costly because they had the ball near midfield. Now it's back at the 26-yard line.
Sean Jamison, a weapon in the return game. Roschon Johnson helping pave the way. You can guarantee yourself Steve Sarkisian not going to be happy about that penalty.
How about already 102 rushing yards for Texas here? Not even done with the first quarter.
Well, movement on the right side.
They had 336 rushing yards, 70 points against Texas Tech last week.
False start. Number 69, offense. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Andre Carrick, guilty man this season, along with their contributions to universities' general scholarship funds. For every field goal and extra point made, Allstate will also be donating to the American Red Cross to help with disaster relief efforts. Thank you, Allstate.
So earlier we saw Denzel Okafor go down, and what they had to do, they've had to reshuffle. Kerstetter has moved from right tackle to left guard, and at right tackle they've got Andre Carrick. So that was some of that movement off the right side.
They fake the jet sweep and give it to Robinson up the middle. Gets a chunk of it back out to the 28-yard line, brought down by Van Zandt. See if Texas snaps it and runs another play, or if that's it for the first quarter. The way the offense is humming, I'd run another play, and they will here. Thompson pulls it back and slings it complete. First down catch for Jordan Whittington, and that will end the first quarter. So TCU by 1, 14-13 here in Fort Worth. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations. And college football is presented by Arby's with Dusty Dvorak, Tom Luganbill, our field analyst. I'm Dave Pash. 14-13, TCU in front. Quarter that feels like it took 4 hours. A lot of special teams plays, a lot of stoppages for reviews, and a lot of offense. Texas with over 100 rushing yards, and this guy Bijan Robinson, they got him there, but what a future he has ahead of him, and a pretty good present. No one has averaged more yards from scrimmage over the last 8 games than Robinson. Mathis did a good job to get him to the ground. He's had 13 touches. 12 touches rather for 89 yards and a touchdown so far. Thompson off play action, gets rid of the pass. It's tipped, incomplete, nearly picked off by Winters.
A little play action pass. They get the linebackers up, but it was good recognition of Winters. You'll see him right here. Drop into his zone, eyes on the quarterback. And Casey Thompson, fortunate, he didn't give up an interception. Well done there in the underneath coverage by D. Winters.
That's a rare error by Thompson recently. Through his first 4 games, his quarterback rating is higher than Mariota, Winston, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield through 4 games in their Heisman Trophy seasons. Thompson backing up, throwing a deep ball. Incomplete. Worthy should have had it. Maybe mistimed his jump, and he's shaken up. And Texas will finally punt for the first time in the last 10 quarters. They come up 1 drive short of the record. Got to go back to the Arkansas game, week 2.
Missed opportunity there. Wasn't so much of TCU stopping Texas. Texas stopping themselves. A ball that Xavier Worthy with really good sure hands typically comes down with, and results in a punt.
Excellent kick by Dicker, and it's muffed and recovered by Texas at the 9-yard line. Overshown was right there to gobble up the muff, and that's the second time today that Darius Davis has turned it over. He had a fumble earlier and now a muff punt inside the 10.
Huge mistake by Darius Davis. He's such a weapon as a return man. He was looking at the defenders before he looked that football all the way in.
Which was similar to when he turned it over earlier.
Exactly.
On that trick play.
Got to come up with 7 here, though, guys. You can't do what they did previously when they had the gift off of the previous turnover and come up with 3. 3's not going to win this today.
First and goal. Robinson is the running back behind Thompson. TCU stacking the box, expecting run. Here it comes, Robinson, and it takes 3 Horned Frogs to get him down at the 8-yard line. D. Winters was there first.
You see the jump cut, but D. Winters, nice job. Tom referenced it earlier. Tackle his legs. He's the first man in. The second Frog defender gets him to the ground. Well defensed by TCU on first down.
Significant improvement over last week, right, Dusty?
No doubt. I didn't even know what I was watching when I watched TCU's defense.
Me neither.
Against that SMU rushing attack. Out of position, Gary Patterson-esque from a week ago. They look better early.
Thompson throws this one, dropped again by Xavier Worthy. Incomplete pass, 3rd and goal.
Coaches just raved to us about how good the hands of Xavier Worthy were. Second drop here in about the last 3 plays. And look that in as he was trying to hit the sidelines. And what a stop this would potentially be for TCU if they can keep the Longhorns out of the end zone. O'Shawn Mathis working over here on Andre Carrick. Matchup to watch.
Thompson to the air. Has time, pass to the end zone, almost intercepted, then almost caught on the redirection. Through the hands of Wyatt Harris. And then Marcus Washington could not pull it in off the ricochet, 4th down.
What's the underneath zone coverage again? Watch him get right in the throw lane. Wyatt Harris, really nice job getting to his spot, reading the quarterback's eyes, and that ball went right through his hands 2 times. We've seen here lately Casey Thompson having a tough time seeing those linebackers and the underneath coverage.
This will be the 3rd attempt for Dicker in just over a quarter. He had 3 attempts all season coming into the game. 26-yard try. And he's 3 for 3, and Texas is back in front.
Wow, this game has had so much already. We expected it coming in. Big muff punt here by Davis, but the TCU Horned Frog defense stands. We got a good one in Fort Worth.
NHL, ESPN, back together again.
It's here, less than a couple weeks till the NHL returns to ESPN. You play hockey at all growing up?
I tried to. Rollerblading.
I'd love to see 6'5", 300 pounds on ice skates. You grew up on a lake, right? I know it's in Texas, but wasn't exactly frozen. DeMercado run out of bounds at the 25.
I know I'm a phenomenal athlete, Dave, but skates, really not my A game.
Big 12 now on ESPN Plus, a must-have for Big 12 fans. Tomorrow, 2 women's soccer matches highlight the afternoon with Kansas, Iowa State, and number 10 TCU taking on Houston here in Fort Worth. Both matches start 2 Eastern, 1 Central. And basketball season less than 6 weeks away. Big 12 Media Days with a season preview. The women tip things off at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City Tuesday, October 19th, with the men the following night. Go to ESPNplus.com/Big12 now for more. TCU down 2, taking over on its 25-yard line. Here's Evans for about 3 to the 28-yard line, down by Jacoby Jones.
The 2 stops that TCU defense has been able to get after the takeaway is just massive right now. This Texas offense has been so difficult to stop, and twice TCU has gifted them in prime real estate, both resulting in field goals.
Injured offensive lineman John Lands. He'll come out of the game here.
And they're already without their starting right guard, might be their best offensive lineman, Wes Harris. Health has been an issue for this TCU offensive line.
2nd down and 7. From the TCU 28-yard line, Horned Frogs will be in Lubbock to face Texas Tech next week. Duggan with a dart. And out to about the 32 is Quentin Johnston. 10th catch on the year. Leads the team in receptions.
2nd catch we've seen today. Got to get him going. He's just a physical mismatch. 6'4", great leaping ability. Missed a couple of deep shots from Duggan a week ago. Didn't have a single catch against SMU. Clearly an early target for Max Duggan in this one.
Ooh, the official just went tumbling to the ground. But look at him hop to his feet as if nothing happened. Unfortunately, the cameras caught it. Zach Evans with the 1st down run out to the 38-yard line.
Hits this downhill so hard. See the official snap to, hop on his feet. Really nice piece of running by Zach Evans.
A lesser athlete would have gotten injured.
Here's a swing pass, and that was gobbled up. Nowhere to go as Anthony Cook was all over Davis. Trying to get Davis involved after the 2 turnovers, and he loses a couple of yards there.
Really nice job forcing that by Anthony Cook. Really aggressive downhill, and as soon as Davis catches that pass, fights through a block and makes a nice play behind the line of scrimmage.
7 carries, 45 yards, and a touchdown for Zach Evans in the backfield here on 2nd down and 12. TCU taking a little time off the play clock, maybe trying to slow the game down just a bit for now. Dug in, surveying, got a man, and that time it's caught. Davis with much better hands there, snatched that one. There is a penalty flag in the backfield, though. 19-yard gain. Let's see what the flag's about. Darius Davis, a preseason All-American. One of the fastest players, a 4.3 40, also one of the strongest, has almost a 400-pound bench press, and he's a wide receiver. He's 5'9", 160 pounds, benching twice his body weight.
The play for holding. The result of the play is a first down.
I like the play call. Roll the pocket to the left, hit Davis on the over, back to the right, little misdirection, and a nice pass and better catch from Darius Davis.
Duggan with a quick dump-off pass to Evans. Gang tackled after a gain of 3. Got to wonder a little bit about this Texas defense. They did give up 35 points. Yes, they won by 35 last week, but they did give up 35 to Texas Tech and over 500 yards. Had all kinds of trouble with Arkansas. They got Oklahoma next week, and at some point you got to think Spencer Rattler and that Sooner offense will get untracked.
Pete Kwiatkowski trying to get this defense locked in. Had some issues last week in the secondary.
And Duggan will keep it. How about Evans with the block? And then Duggan slides for the first down of the 33. But how about the tailback stepping up there and blocking for Duggan?
Not just a runner. Watch him right here. He's also a fullback. That's a running back on a linebacker, Luke Brockermeyer. Nice block to spring the run.
Duggan will throw it here. Evans can't hang on. Incomplete at the 30.
Took his eyes off the football, anticipating the contact. A little pushing and shoving there, Dave.
Yeah, Coy McMillan did not like Anthony Cook standing over Zach Evans.
A little different offensive approach than we've seen the last 2 weeks. You know, Duggan has missed a lot of deep shots. Missed, I count 4 against Cal 2 weeks ago that would have been touchdowns. Now it's just about running the football and dink and dunk. And I think it's trying to get him confidence in the passing game because they have been so inconsistent.
Kendra Miller is in for Evans here. So is DeMercado. He's going to get the call up the middle, and it perhaps touchdown saving ankle tackle by Cook. Close to the first down, coming up a couple of yards short.
Nice job by DeMercado, hitting it downhill. Middle of that offensive line. Nice hole and good burst. Quarterback run game very much in play here for Max Duggan.
He's an excellent runner. Third down and 3, and Duggan will keep it. And he's able to power close to the line to gain. Don't think he got it. Overshown brought him down. 4th and 1. What do you do?
He's going to be short. I think they're going to go for it here. And Coach Patterson's going to look at this. They're going to go quick. Evans comes into the game.
Texas not lined up.
Quarterback sneak.
Center judge waiting for the substitutions there. And then Texas jumped offside. Duggan didn't get it. But Texas was offside. Boy, they had to have been thrown off by the center judge. I know he's doing his job there, but it appeared that the substitution had long ended for Texas. I think TCU was mad that they couldn't snap the ball because I don't even know that there were substitutes coming in for Texas.
Action on the field. TCU takes their first charge timeout of the half. 30 seconds in left.
So we're told that was, I guess, before the snap, so no play, so no offside. And we'll be back to Fort Worth in a moment. Change sequence where an assistant coach, Doug Meacham, we could not see Gary Patterson, but it looked like it was Meacham, the play caller that calls timeout. Watch him here, left side of your screen. Come in there and call timeout. And you see Texas offside, but the play was dead, so no penalty. It's 4th down, and the offense back on the field for TCU.
Would have been an offsides call. Jacoby Jones jumped the snap. Negated with the timeout.
And he would not have gotten the first down.
No. A lot of beef in the interior of that Texas defensive line.
They will go for it instead of kicking what would have been about a 43-yard field goal. Duggan picks up the first down. That was Evans again with a great block, and Duggan is all the way to the 15-yard line.
Zach Evans playing a little bit of fullback here on this drive. Nice kick-out block of B.J. Foster, and Max Duggan properly cuts right off the block and picks up the first down.
We're seeing 2 future NFL tailbacks that can do a little bit of everything.
Versatility is the spice of life. Right, Dave?
Zach Evans, Bijan Robinson, and here's Davis, another trick play. Davis hangs on to it here, and then it's pinballed forward to the 11-yard line for 4 yards.
Dave, did you see the block from Zach Evans right there? He just took out the Texas linebacker, went low on him. Might have been his best block of this drive, and he's made quite a few.
TCU, meanwhile, Tom, 15 of 15 in the red zone this season. 12 of those have been touchdowns. They're one of 11 FBS teams to be perfect going into week 5 from the red zone. 2nd down and 6. Duggan to the air, and that's behind the intended receiver. Incomplete, going for Savion Williams. That's what we were just talking about there, scoring on all 15 red zone possessions. Doug Meacham is the play caller. Jerry Kill is the special assistant to the head coach and actually speaks for the offense. We met with Kill yesterday, but he's not involved in the play calling. He can listen, but he can't talk, but he can be involved during the week, just not on game day. There's Coach Kill, longtime head coach at Minnesota.
Moving Zach Evans around a little bit.
So 3rd down and 6. Evans not going to get the first down. Overshown on the tackle. Evans lost his helmet too. 4th down.
Would think you got a kick right here. Take your points. Thought they could maybe catch Texas playing a little bit soft. More coverage on the 3rd and 6. Try to hit it up inside. Nice job getting the stop by the Longhorn defense, but you got to walk away and get points.
Yeah, you've made it this far. It's a 14-play, almost 6-minute drive. You got to get something out of it.
26 on the 10.
So 26-yard try for Griffin Kell to give TCU the lead again. And he puts it through. 17-16. Horned Frogs midway through the 2nd quarter in Fort Worth. Horned Frog wide receiver as we honor those who serve. Brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Chris Wingate, former walk-on, blossomed into a starter in Letterman for Gary Patterson in the early 2000s, was a teammate of LaDainian Tomlinson, went from the TCU campus into the Army, now a lieutenant colonel. Chris Wingate, medvac action officer.
Love this from Chris Wingate. He said, our job is to be ready, deploy, fight, and win. Anyone, anytime, anywhere.
Brockermeyer, service. Absolutely. Brockermeyer scooping up that kickoff and taking it back to the 41-yard line. Really good field position for Texas. Special teams plays made on both sides. J.D. Spielman, 87-yard kickoff to start the game. Return to the 13. Bijan Robinson has run all over this TCU defense. He's got a touchdown and 73 yards on the ground. 2 turnovers by Darius Davis of TCU, the muff punt after a lost fumble earlier. And now after a squib kick that scooped up by Brockermeyer and returned to the 45, Texas starting with good field position.
You've seen enough of Deshaun Jamison returning kicks on him.
Yes. Yeah, he had a couple big ones in the 1st quarter. Not shown there on the highlights. We had to narrow it down. We've had like 30 explosive plays.
It's been wild.
Midway through the 2nd quarter. Play fake. Thompson looking downfield and threw it high and incomplete. Oh, a flag down. I don't know that had any chance to be caught. It was thrown on a line for Jared Wiley and got tripped up with C.J. Caesar. Officials might, they're definitely talking about it. I don't think there's any way that that's close to catchable. You know, TCU does have Noah Daniels back. I don't know if you've noticed him out there, Dusty. I have not seen him, but it's they've got 3 players who've been injured: George Ellis, Kyrie Coleman, and Noah Daniels, expected to play some today on defense for TCU.
Kyrie Coleman out there right now, outstanding rusher.
Pass interference, number 9, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
We have not seen a whole lot of Noah Daniels. Take a look at this call one more time. This is big Jared Wiley, 6'7", matching a tight end up on a corner. You see he gets the pull That's a 6'7" target. If he jumped and went up, I don't know definitively that's uncatchable. I think that's the right call. Kind of a panic move there by Caesar to grab on the back of the jersey of Jared Wiley.
So first down to the TCU 40-yard line. Robinson running right. Oh, what a sweet cutback. Man, is he talented or what? Down to the 34 for 6 yards.
Can make you miss in a phone booth. I like the patience there on that outside stretch. Defender overcommits. And a nice cutback.
I mean, did you see his feet?
Yeah.
How high off the ground they were? And here he goes again with the cutback. They finally get enough of him for him to fall at the 23-yard line as he picks up 11 more yards.
Let's look at it again. Let's go stretch to the right one more time. The jump cut cuts it all the way back across the grain. Slight hesitation and another big pickup. We've seen this guy back-to-back weeks. As talented a running back as I've seen in college football this season. He's just been fantastic. So tough to tackle.
Robinson again breaks a tackle and knocked down inside the 20 at the 17-yard line by Bradford, who lost his helmet. He'll have to come out for a play.
Dusty, I'll tell you, the other thing about him is he's going to be durable because you can never get a clean shot on him. He doesn't take blows to the body, so it's not like he's going to have a ton of mileage on his chassis. He just stays clean.
He told us he's been watching guys like Saquon Barkley, Barry Sanders, to try to help add elements to his game, and even some Zeke Elliott from back when he was at Ohio State.
Just got to pull the shirt up a little bit if he's going to do the Zeke Elliott.
They're feeding him today, I can tell you that.
Thompson on the run, dumps it off to Johnson, gets a block in front of him, gets the first down inside the 10 till he's pushed back and they blow it dead. It'll be first and goal though for Texas.
Two-back set. You focus so much on Bijan in the run game, and you sneak Roschon out into the flats. Really good piece of blocking there on the edge by Xavier Worthy. Stock blocking, helping set that up.
First down and goal. Johnson gets the carry, dives for the 5, so a 4-yard gain on first and goal.
Guys, just a quick update for you, too, on Okafor, the offensive tackle for Texas. He will be out for the rest of the game, as we just saw big number 70 getting up slowly, so Texas can't afford many more bodies being lost in the offensive line.
Yeah, we've already talked about the switches they've had to make because of the guys shaken up. Kerstetter moving from tackle to guard, and a backup guard coming in at tackle. Second down and goal. Johnson on the stretch, tries to cut it back and thrown down after a short gain. Third and goal coming up.
A little bit surprised here. We don't see Bijan Robinson in the game, and right on cue he checks in.
Robinson from Tucson, Arizona. 6 foot, 215-pound sophomore. 15 carries already in the first half, 96 yards and a 27-yard touchdown run.
Have to be mindful of him out of the backfield as a pass catcher.
Caught a touchdown pass last week. Third and goal from inside the 5. Robinson powers into the end zone for the Texas touchdown and the lead. Seven rushing touchdowns on the season. He had 6 all of last year, total touchdowns.
Good push inside to center Jake Majors. And you see Bijan Robinson refusing to go down short of the goal line. Takes the contact, little spin, turn, and finds pay dirt.
I love what we're seeing from both backs, whether it's making a guy miss in space, lowering the shoulder, going out and blocking somebody. Great all-around football at that position from both Evans and Robinson. Dicker puts it through, 23-17, Texas.
We billed it as two of the best running backs in all of college football, and they've both been on display. What a half for Bijan Robinson.
Going, we'll see you guys in about an hour. 4 minutes to go here in the second quarter. 23-17, and Spielman waiting, and finally Texas is able to track him down and keep him short of the 20-yard line. So pushing and shoving in front of the TCU bench, but the Texas players get out of there. All right, like trivia question. So Bijan Robinson leading the FBS the first 4 games of the season with 21 broken tackles. There's only been one player with more than that through their first 4 games. Who is it? I have no clue.
Ricky Williams.
In the last 4 years?
Oh, last 4 years. Excuse me.
How long has Saquon been in the league?
I think it's Saquon. Yeah, I think that would have been his. His last year at Penn State. Duggan from the pocket, low throw, and it's incomplete. Tay Barber could not come up with it. Boy, that was really close.
Did he get his arms underneath that football before it hits the ground? No.
Good call. Yeah, officials all over that.
Good to see Tay Barber back out there, though. Remember, he took that shot earlier going over the middle, climbing the ladder, getting the catch. Vicious blow from B.J. Foster, but captain, toughness. Saw the out here to help his team.
Saw the umpire right there, too, all over it. 2nd and 10. Big possession here for TCU. Do not want Texas to get another crack at it with any time on the clock here before halftime. They will get the ball to start the second half, Texas. No running room here. Kendre Miller brought down after gain of 1. Ray Thornton there coming up later on ABC. How about Indiana Penn State in prime time? Remember last year, Michael Penix with that iconic stretch to get the ball across to beat Penn State when the Nittany Lions are ranked in the top 10.
Got to be some element of revenge there, right, for the Nittany Lion football team. That loss derailed their season. Get back game tonight.
No question. They never recovered from that last year. 3rd down and 9, empty backfield. 3-man rush by Texas. Duggan throws underneath, and Davis trying to turn it upfield. He's going to go down, and this will be a 3-and-out. Brockermeyer got him to the ground. Now a penalty flag is down. Brockermeyer hurt too. Luke's dad Blake, great player at Texas, longtime NFL player. This would be a 1st down for TCU.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 0, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic 1st down.
So it's on Overshown. Instead of Texas getting the ball back, TCU keeps the drive alive. Let's see here. Overshown at the end.
I don't like that call.
Me neither.
I don't like that call whatsoever. He's sprinting to the football, trying to help. I don't know. That's momentum. That's a no call to me.
Yeah, don't like it. 1st down and Duggan going to keep here, and he gets about 5 out to the 38. 2:40 and counting. TCU with 2 timeouts remaining, trying to regain the lead going into the locker room. This time Duggan will hand it off. DeMercado slammed to the ground at the 42-yard line by Jalen Ford. So 3rd down and 2.
3rd manageable. We're seeing just kind of conservative play calling right here by Doug Meacham. Want to get in too big of a hurry. And if they get a 1st down here, we'll see them step on the gas a little bit.
Duggan, he'll go down for a loss. Texas was all over that. Byron Murphy, true freshman, was in the backfield.
Watch the lateral 1st step. He's just going to get up in the A gap, unaccounted for. The guard, Avila, who's not playing center now, moves over, can't stay with him. Outstanding job, lateral quickness as he gets inside and gets up the field, and a big stop on 3rd and short.
Texas calls a timeout. TCU, they've gone for it if it were 4th and 2, but they lose 3 yards. UFC Fight Night from the Apex in Las Vegas. Thiago Santos against Johnny Walker in the light heavyweight main event. Get ESPN Plus by going to ESPNplus.com or download the ESPN app.
How's your UFC career going, Dave? That's what you train in the offseason, right?
We're 0-0. We still haven't debuted just yet.
Okay.
We're getting close.
Can't wait to go watch your debut, man.
It'll be against you and Lugs with your guys' hands tied behind your backs. Deshaun Jamison is deep. Jordy Sandy. A rare punt for TCU. And it takes another Horned Frog hop. Earlier, Jordy Sandy put it on the 1. This one will be down to around the 10 by DeMercado. All right, let's answer the Aflac trivia question. Bijan Robinson leading the country with 21 broken tackles through 4 games.
I would say Saquon.
Last 4 seasons, the only player with more is
Travis Etienne. Okay. He is a tough guy to tackle in space, that's for sure.
Etienne out for the season with Jacksonville. But here we go, the last 4 years. So Cam Akers, Moss, Singletary, but Bijan Robinson, he's got a bunch more through this game. What's the record through 5 over the last 4 years? We got to figure that out because he had a handful of broken tackles, at least maybe closer to double-figure broken tackles in this first half alone. Here he is here. Again, that jump cut dropped at the 14-yard line.
You know, interestingly enough, Casey Thompson's had some struggles today. Hasn't seen underneath coverage. Receivers have had several drops. He's just 5 of 13 for 44 yards. Do we see Sark get aggressive with a minute and a half left in this opening half?
He has had 3 or 4 drops.
No doubt.
2nd and 7. He'll throw it here. Has a completion short of the line to gain. Not much for Joshua Moore. Let's see if Texas uses a timeout now. Flag comes down. Extracurricular activity. That'll give the Longhorns a first down. Not smart.
There's some bad blood between these teams, right? TCU always approaches this game with a chip on their shoulder. All these players feel slighted, overlooked by Texas, and but Gary Patterson has a way to get his team fired up and ready when the Longhorns come to town. But you got to be able to control those emotions and not let them get the best of you.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 32, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
So that's on O'Shawn Mathis. Let's take a look. Comes in there and shoves Anguilao. It's unnecessary. Wasn't much, but
not smart. Not smart. O'Shawn Mathis smarter than that.
It comes to the sideline. So Texas with 2 timeouts. Clock is moving. Thompson back to throw. Looking deep, airing it out. Triple coverage, and it's intercepted inside the 25-yard line. Bradford, I'm not sure he was down. I thought he collided with a teammate. He maybe could have gotten up and run the football. Nonetheless, it's TCU ball with time on the clock.
But triple coverage, just forcing the football to Xavier Worthy, and we'll see Dylan Horton coming off the edge, gets a really nice rush as he beats Christian Jones. Nice counter, hit on Thompson as he delivers the football. That's a ball that should not have been thrown, Dave.
Yeah, and he definitely landed on the ground. At first, he landed on top of a player, but then you can see he was down. And did they miss a pass interference by Caesar?
Definitely a grab there on the back of the jersey by Xavier Worthy, and as soon as that ball is picked off, Worthy calling and asking for the flag. Caesar got away with one there.
TCU with 2 timeouts left and a minute to go. Getting the ball back on the takeaway. Duggan steps up and is sacked. What a play. Jacoby Jones beat his man and then took down the quarterback. See if TCU uses a timeout. Nope.
Jacoby Jones, really nice rush off the edge. Gets that rip high, gets that lineman's hands off of him, and gets the sack.
First sack of the year for Jones. Duggan, and big hit as Davis makes the catch. He gets face planted by Ray Thornton. Did get the first down, so the clock will stop to move the chains. 33 seconds to go.
TCU with 2 timeouts right now.
Duggan from the pocket, long throw is caught, get out of bounds. Johnston does. 24 seconds to go, and they're at the 45-yard line now.
Well, you mentioned it, some arm strength there by Max Duggan, near hash far sideline, and it's on a rope to Quentin Johnson.
Griffin Kells long is 52 against Texas 2 years ago. Can they get close to the 35-yard line in 24 seconds? Duggan steps up, gonna take off. Overshown takes him down. TCU's got to call a timeout Gary Patterson does, that'll leave him with 1 and 16 seconds to play here in the half.
With the closing speed of Overshone, there was a big space open up along the offensive line, and we talked about it. Max Duggan has deceptive speed, and Overshone made that up immediately. Really good open field tackle.
All right, we'll be back in 10 seconds. Now a look from Ram Trucks.
Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Dave Pasch, Dusty Dvorak, Tom Luginbill here in Fort Worth. Packed house at Amon G. Carter Stadium for TCU in Texas. The Longhorns have lost 3 in a row here in Fort Worth. They've lost 7 of 9. Nobody has a better win percentage than TCU in the Big 12 against Texas. The Longhorns have a big one, obviously, against Oklahoma next week, trying to creep into the top 25. They were 26th this week in both polls. The one loss coming to Arkansas. TCU lost last week to SMU, which is a pretty good team. 1 timeout remaining. Ball at the 48. Duggan got to get rid of it. Flag down. Caught inside the 40 by Johnston, but this may come back. They're close to field goal range for now. And Johnston injured as well.
They need him healthy. I think there's going to be a hold on the right tackle, Andrew Coker. Jacoby Jones really putting together some nice pass rushes as we see Johnston on the sidelines.
Personal foul, face mask, number 74, offense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
So same guy, just different penalty, face mask on Coker.
Yeah, Jacoby Jones really doing a nice job working off the edge. He's already had a sack on this drive. And the bigger story than the hands to the face, Quentin Johnston.
Oh, right leg landed on there.
Do not like to see that.
They do have some other playmakers, but he's arguably their best receiver. 3 seconds to go. And Duggan throws incomplete. That'll end the half. A lot of fireworks in that first half. 40 total points. Texas by 6, and the Longhorns will get the ball to start the second half. The State Farm halftime report is coming up after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Back to ESPN's college football presented by Arby's. From Amon G. Carter Stadium, you are watching the Big 12 Conference on ESPN. Texas trying to knock off TCU, which has been a rare thing the last decade, and the Longhorns with a win would get to 4-1 heading into their game against Oklahoma next week. A lot of big plays in the first half, Dusty.
It was fireworks early. We knew TCU would show up ready to play, and J.D. Spillman right off the bat gets TCU in prime position with the star of this half. Bijan Robinson, 17 carries, 103 yards, finds the end zone twice, making people miss left and right. And Texas 6-0 when Bijan rushes for 100 yards.
Our game track brought to you by Mission Tiger. Bijan Robinson already over 100 yards, 17 carries. So Robinson over his last 9 games has rushed for 100 plus. In 7 of those, leads the country in yards per scrimmage, yards from scrimmage per game over the last 9 games. On the return, Worthy is knocked down to the 22-yard line. And look, we did the Texas game last week. We started out by talking about Bijan Robinson. We're talking him all day today. If people around the country haven't watched this kid, he's becoming must-see TV. He's that dynamic.
He's special. He makes people miss at an alarming rate. You can be in good position and still be left hugging air. His lateral movement is off the charts, and then the versatility within his game, what he brings to the table. But you kind of wonder, are we going to see some more of Casey Thompson? Really the first time since Casey Thompson has become the starter. We've seen him struggle whatsoever. It was all Bijan in the first half, but will the quarterback be able to compliment him here in the second?
18th carry for Robinson, and he gets 3 or 4 on the play.
Well, hey, Dusty, I'll tell you what, to your point about tackling Bijan Robinson in confined spaces, that's what Gary Patterson said coming out of the locker room. We just got to tackle. I like our red zone defense, and he said he's going to keep eating up the quarterback. He wants to affect Casey Thompson, and not just as they have on third down. Expect them to douse up more coming up here in the second half.
They got to stop the run. They had 2 100-yard rushers last week for SMU that they allowed, and already a 100-yard rusher in this game. Play action here for Thompson with time to throw, and it's incomplete. Another pass that could have been caught. Xavier Worthy has had 3 now that he probably should have caught. C.J. Caesar in coverage.
I think C.J. Caesar makes an excellent play. Definitely could have been caught, but watch Caesar come in here with the right hand to help knock that loose. Receiver not helping the quarterback out much, but that's well defense, getting the hand on the football to create the pass breakup.
Yeah, good call there, Dusty. Definitely got that hand in there. Texas 2 of 8 on third down. 4 drop balls on third down, and they're the number 2 third down offense in the country coming in. To be a big stop for TCU if they can get it. Thompson goes down at the 14. Sacked by Dylan Horton, who's having the best game of his life.
Well, this is a coverage sack, just a 3-man rush. Coach Patterson doesn't bring pressure, and there's nowhere for Casey to try to fit the ball into. Really well done down the field, and then it's Dylan Horton who comes in late with a big rip and the sack to force a punt to start this second half. It's a big drive for Gary Patterson's defense coming out of halftime.
Cameron Dicker will punt from his 1-yard line. They went almost 30 drives without punting. It's a short kick, and the fair catch made by Darius Davis near the TCU 45. So very good starting field position for the Horned Frogs in their first possession of the third quarter. More college football action tonight. An SEC doubleheader from Lexington. It's Kentucky, Florida, with the Gators ranked number 10, followed by Auburn and LSU. Auburn ranked 22nd. I was actually a little surprised that they were still ranked after what happened last week. And the Texas wasn't ranked, despite what the Longhorns did to Texas Tech, which was previously unbeaten.
Clemson at 25, not looking good. I was shocked. Texas, after what they did a week ago, didn't find their way in the top 25.
26 in both polls. First down for TCU. And here is Evans. And somersaults to the 48. We've talked a ton, for good reason, about Bijan Robinson, but Zach Evans is no slouch. As Luke Brockermeyer playing through injury, we've seen him a couple times grimacing in pain.
Tough, gritty warrior in the middle of that Texas defense, fighting through pain right now. You need him to try to bottle up Zach Evans the second half.
The former Alabama commit, they fake it to him here. Duggan rolling out, receiver open underneath, and Davis stretching forward, comes up just short. It'll be 3rd and 1 on the Texas side of the field. Davis had 2 giveaways, lost a fumble, and then muffed a punt inside the TCU 10 in the first half.
Got to think this right here, going to Zach Evans inside. Always keep and pull it if you're Max Duggan. Inside zone.
And Evans easily into the secondary. Good job up front by that TCU offensive line.
Split zone, and Zach Evans hits it so hard downhill. Nice piece of running on 3rd and short.
He's averaging 6 yards a carry in this game, for his career averaging right around 8, which is the best among active players. Number 1 high school running back in the country a couple years ago. He's out of Houston. Gives TCU a fresh set of downs. Duggan off a play action, and the pass way behind. Might have been some miscommunication there, although there was some pressure. You see Duggan pointing to one of the receivers, and how angry the offensive coordinator is, which tells you somebody made a mistake.
Well, Quincy Brown's out there, receiver. The true freshman they call Sticks is very skinny. And wondered if he got a little bit confused there. And by the way, we have not seen Quentin Johnston, who we saw limp off the sidelines. He has not come out here this opening series for the TCU offense. Something to keep an eye on to avoid one of their top targets outside.
Yeah, he got hurt on that last drive of the half. Evans trying to get the edge. He does. Inside the 35, spun down around the 31 by Brockermeyer, but you see that extra gear from Evans for 9 yards.
Watch the speed. It's just a foot race to the perimeter. He outruns Brockermeyer. Nice blocking on the edge of the TCU receivers, and a really good pickup on 2nd and long.
Evans has also had several huge blocks where he's drilled linebackers opening holes for his quarterback in the run game. See what they do here on 3rd down and 1. Be about a 48-yard field goal from here if they can't pick it up. And there it is again. The block to Spring Duggan to get the first down. Evans on the edge, fearlessly taking on big defenders.
On cue, partner, you called it. Zach Evans all day today has been isolating on linebackers there. It's the star, Anthony Cook. Nice block, just get enough to help spring Max Duggan. A nice pickup on 3rd and short.
Dusty, we talked in the first half about his leadership off the field. We're seeing leadership on the field, making plays like that. Gets your teammates fired up when you're doing the little things.
Doing whatever you can do to help your team be successful and win.
First down to the 29. Duggan gonna get hit from behind, fumbles the ball. And it's picked up by Anthony Cook, who had the sack and the forced fumble. Texas ball at midfield.
Well, Pete Kwiatkowski decided to dial up some pressure, and nobody accounts for Anthony Cook coming off the edge. Unaccosted, unaccounted for, and watch him as he's able to get home off the edge. Big hit on Max Duggan, and Cook able to get up after the hit, scoop the ball, and give it back to Texas.
There is a penalty flag down, but it looked to be thrown after the play. It'd be the 3rd turnover, 3rd lost fumble by TCU. There was some celebrating going on over on the Texas sideline.
The play is an interception. After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, multiple players from the Texas bench were celebrating in the end zone. All 4 players will have an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. There'll be 1 15-yard penalty. First down, Texas.
And you have to identify the 4 players, because if one of those guys or all of them get a second one, they're gone. But they got to mark it 15 yards off and take it back to the 34-yard line. So 3 turnovers matching their season total. And when you're playing against an offense like Texas, you make it really difficult to try to get an upset when you're turning the ball over.
So far, the first 2 turnovers only resulted in 6 points. TCU was able to hold Texas to field goals on both of the other fumbles. See if they can make it 3. That was just, man, unaccounted for. Anthony Cook off the edge, dial up the blitz, and man, did it get home. Big shot there, taken by Max Duggan.
So after the 15-yard penalty for excessive celebration, or multiple players celebrating, Robinson, how about that play? Ducks under the tackle attempt of Coleman. Van Zandt eventually on the stop, but 5 or 6 yards and it should have been none.
Lowering the pad level. I mean, getting underneath multiple Frog defenders, and you see the balance as he fights through, which should have been nothing. A nice gain on first down.
111 yards now for Robinson. Carry number 20. And again breaks a tackle. Nobody's broken more this season through the first 4 games, and now 5. Gets a first down for the Longhorns.
Not that contact balance, Dusty. Yeah. I mean, he's always falling forward. Momentum's always going forward.
That's going into today, 21. There's been about 8 or 9 in this game. Thompson taking a shot, got a receiver there. And what a grab by Jordan Whittington, making the catch through contact inside the TCU 20-yard line.
Well, this is an excellent route here by Jordan Whittington. Fakes like it's going to be a post and comes back to the corner. Ball up high. How about the concentration to go up and get it? Strong hands to complete the process of that catch.
As Hodges Tomlinson drilled him back to the ground. Robinson, first man misses. Robinson eventually taken to the ground after a gain of 3. Texas trying to extend the lead here early in the 3rd.
Dusty, those are the plays that Texas was not making in the passing game in the first half. Just too many drop balls, lack of focus. Sark told me they're just out of sync. So we got to get back in rhythm. We got to start dictating how the game's going to be played to TCU.
And they bring Roschon Johnson, and Robinson lost a shoe.
Two tights, heavy formation. Love to run the football out of this.
Here's Johnson getting the carry, and down he goes at the 12. Hodge with the stop. Third down coming up. Texas normally outstanding on third down, but that has not been the case today. Number 2 in the country coming in, but the Longhorns have struggled on third down in this game. Had to settle for field goals 3 times. See what happens here on 3rd and 3.
Quarterback run game in play. You've also got Roschon Johnson, a powerful back inside.
Thompson keeps it instead, trying to get the edge, and he can't. Swarmed at the 10. What do you do? 4th and 1.
I think you take the points here. Look, you make this, if you kick this field goal, a 2-score game. You got to cash in off this turnover. I don't think you overthink this if you're Sark. Yeah, you want to go and try to get a touchdown, but there's a big difference between a 6-point lead and a 9-point lead. And you got to take advantage since your offense has gotten the football down here.
But you wonder now if that will cost them at some point, because Dicker had tried only 3 field goals all year. This is the 4th of the game, and you got to think TCU is going to score more points. 28 yards, and it's good. So the lead is 9, but TCU will take it after another turnover. Forced fumble as Duggan got leveled by Anthony Cook. He recovered the fumble. Texas gets 3 points out of it. Welcomes you to the Live Boss Student Section of the Year contest. Use hashtag StudentSectionSauce to get the committee's attention, and go to ESPN.com/Taco Bell to see how your school can compete. Always a good student section here, especially when Texas is here. They do not like the Longhorns.
No question.
Sun is out here in Fort Worth, and their catch, he'll come out to the 25.
Boy, the red zone defense so far today for TCU has been stellar. Nobody has gotten a beat on Sark's offense in the red zone this year. 95% touchdown percentage, just 1 of 4 here today. Job well done in the red zone for Gary Patterson's defense. Now can the offense hold on to the football? 3 turnovers, only resulting in 9 Texas points so far in this game.
And TCU, a team that finished 5th, 7th, and 5th in the Big 12 the last 3 years after winning the conference in 2014. Blitz off the edge. They throw it the other way, and here's Evans out in space, out of bounds at the 30. But look, this is a big year for TCU. We were used to seeing them at the top of the conference standings for a while. They've slipped. They have not been as good the last few years, but obviously a win against Texas get them to 3-1 before they go to Lubbock next week, and then to Norman the week after.
And 1-0 in Big 12 play, right? This is the first game for them in Big 12 play. Gary Patterson told me at Big 12 Media Days he thought this team had similar chemistry to the one that he took to a Rose Bowl. So you're starting to think that maybe some things could come together for this team.
Here's Duggan off the right side and just goes to the ground. There was some contact from Cook. And now Brockermeyer is down again. Boy, we've seen him in pain throughout this game. They just threw the flag. It took a while, but they just threw it. I think they were trying to decide whether, when Duggan slid, if Cook could hold up.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 11, defense, hitting the sliding quarterback. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Boy, I would really like to see that one again. It's tough, man. You're not out in the open field. You're behind the line of scrimmage. As Brockermeyer hobbles to the Texas sideline, we're going to take a break and come back. TCU ball near midfield. Coach Steve Sarkisian arguing with the officials, saying that that should not be a penalty on Anthony Cook. for hitting the sliding Max Duggan.
I understand where he's coming from. Max Duggan gives himself up, and you can see Anthony Cook kind of loses his footing as Duggan slides into him. Watch here the feet right there of Cook. He's got to stay off of him. You can't hit the quarterback. Whether you agree or disagree, they're going to call that every single time. They're going to protect quarterbacks, Dave.
Yeah, but
That's right, Dusty.
protect them from you, I think is what Tom's trying to say, Dusty.
Yeah.
We do have a highlight from an Oklahoma-Texas game. We promo that to illustrate further why they're trying to protect quarterbacks from you. Evans, big hole straight ahead. Got the first down, spins out of a tackle. Now gets the edge inside the 30-yard line. What a run by Zach Evans. Over 30 yards on that play. TCU in business.
Zach Evans says, don't forget about me. Excellent block by Avilaw on the linebacker. Little spin there in the open field. The shiftiness of Zach Evans on display. Really nice job of running on the inside of that TCU offensive line.
He's over 100 rushing yards now. 8.4 a carry. That was 33 yards. That'll certainly help the average. Had a touchdown in the first half. On the cusp of the red zone here. Evans again with room again, but a flag down. Evans and a second flag. Evans tackled at the 15-yard line. Again, 2 penalties. Evans calling for a sub.
Holding, number 77, offense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
All right, just 2 different officials throwing flag on the same person, Brandon Coleman. Hey fans, make sure you head to @ESPNCFB on social now to vote for your favorite college town and the Football Town Showdown presented by Shell. I know if I ask you, you're going to say Norman. Tom, I don't know what you would say based on the number of schools that you attended, if you had a specific one in particular.
Didn't you grow up in Madison, Wisconsin?
I did. See, I would say
Heck of a
Madison.
college town.
I would say Madison.
It's a great college town. There's a lot of great college towns chock full throughout the Big 12. Norman got to be up there toward the top for sure.
On 1st and 20, Miller gets inside the 25, down to the 24, got a chunk of it back.
I thought Dave was going to say Syracuse.
Yeah, there's great football atmosphere the last couple years there. Trying to get back though, 3-1 start for Dino Babers and company.
Beautiful campus there for the Cuse. Done some yogging on that campus previously.
Little soft J.
Yes.
Not sure what that is. Nearing 5 minutes to go here in the third, second down and 13. Again, they give to Miller. Great open field stop by B.J. Foster. Gain of a couple, 3rd down and long coming up.
Man, it's well said by you right there in the hole. B.J. Foster doesn't make that tackle. We might have seen Kendre Miller in the end zone. Really well done by the safety coming down at that last line of defense, getting the ball carrier on the ground.
Be about a 38 or 39-yard field goal try from here.
Tay Barber, middle of that trip set. Go-to guy in these kind of spots. He's dependable. He's reliable.
Texas rushes 3. Duggan from the pocket. Now takes off. And it hit at the 20 and dropped about 7 or 8 yards short of the line to gain. Jet Bush on the stop. And so TCU will bring on the kicking team to try to get it back within 1 score.
It's a good stop there by the Texas defense. Sure looked like Duggan was looking for Tay Barber. He was well covered. And you love the pursuit to the football by the Longhorns to get the fleet of foot Max Duggan to the ground.
Griffin Kell made a 25-yarder, will now attempt a 36-yard field goal. He was 4 for 4 against Texas a year ago. This one hugs the left upright, but it's good, and it's 26-20 late in the 3rd quarter in Fort Worth. 117th Red River Showdown game at the Cotton Bowl next week on ABC. Oklahoma, number 6, Texas. A rivalry you played in 4 times when you were a member of the Sooners.
Best game in college football. Self-admittedly biased. Doesn't get any better than that. Cotton Bowl, kind of right in the middle between both. The bad blood, the split right down the middle of the stadium. Man, getting fired up just thinking about that.
TCU back within 6. And now the kickoff to Jamison. It will go through the end zone for a touchback. Let's take you back in time.
What are you guys doing?
2002. Poor Chris Sims here.
No.
You know, the play's over. Interception. Here comes Dusty.
What's he thinking? What is he thinking in that moment? You know what? I was always taught, quarterback throws an interception. Quarterback throws an interception. The first thing that you do is you locate the quarterback.
Absolutely.
And you walk in to make sure. Let me show you exactly what happens. But Chris Sims threw it, picking Derek Strait, got it, and I located the quarterback. Might have just been a little bit late.
Yeah, you think?
You located his innards.
It drew the flag, okay? It was properly called there.
You located his ear hole.
15 yards well spent.
From the pocket, Thompson gets out of there and then slides to about the 31-yard line, so a gain of 6 for Thompson. Has Chris Sims talked to you to this day?
You know what? No, he hasn't. And I'm sure he won't moving forward if he's sitting at home watching this game. Sorry about that, Chris. I know it was 19 years ago. The apologies there.
All right, 2nd and 4. Bijan Robinson is lined up as a receiver at the top of your screen. Now motions into the backfield. Robinson with a couple of rushing touchdowns, 119 yards on the ground. Gets the call here, and he gets drilled. We rarely see that, but the takedown by Kyrie Coleman, playing his first game of the season, dealt with injury the first 3 weeks.
Well, it's great to see him back. This is a young man who had 15 tackles for loss. Patient there, waiting for Bijan to make his cut and upending the talented running back. But Kyrie Coleman, 15 tackles for loss, second in all the Big 12, was a freshman All-American. His debut in 2021 here this afternoon, making an impact.
Pass play on 3rd down and short. Thompson in trouble. Coleman was there, but Thompson gets out of there. Heads for the sideline. Dives. We'll see where he went out. He got the first down. What a great play to get away from Kyrie Coleman by Casey Thompson.
When Kyrie Coleman put an unbelievable spin move on Christian Jones to flush Casey Thompson. An outstanding job evading the pressure by Thompson, keeping his composure and sprinting to the sidelines to move the chains.
Nearing 2 minutes to go in the 3rd. Robinson. And they're bottling him up here a little bit more in the second half. Gain of just a couple. Horton, who had a sack earlier, made the stop.
Some movement inside there post-snap. Some slanting stunting. We're seeing by Gary Patterson, trying to create some penetration. Slow down this Texas rushing attack.
Casey Thompson, 3rd career start. Back to throw, got rid of it in time to Robinson. And he's close to a first down. Looks to be just short at the 45-yard line. Made another man miss out in space.
So difficult to tackle on the perimeter in open field.
3rd down and 1. Thompson, quarterback sneak. Second effort.
Ooh, it's going to be close. A little help there late by. And they're going to say, yeah, it's enough.
First down. But back to Bijan Robinson. Has there been a play outside the tackles where he's gone down on first contact today? If there has been, I don't remember it.
Kyrie Coleman got him there, but that was inside the tackles. No, I can't recall one day. He's about as elusive as you'll find in college football, and he takes a quick blow.
Needed a breather there, yep. Inside.
Kyrie Coleman, by the way, is really heating up in this second half. Multiple hits on Casey Thompson on this drive.
A run it with Roschon Johnson into a wall of defenders at the line of scrimmage, maybe even lost a half yard. Patrick Jenkins leading the charge for TCU up front.
You're right, Dusty. They're going to have to get Christian Jones, number 70, the left tackle, some help if they want to throw the ball downfield, because 11, he's turning him into a turnstile.
Shot out of a cannon. We're seeing him just come off the ball really well. And this front for TCU, again, a lot of slanting movement, slowing down this rushing attack here in the 3rd quarter.
Keelan Robinson, his first touch of the day. It's a first down. Robinson on the jet sweep, Alabama transfer Inside the 45 to the 42-yard line. Gain of 12 yards on the play.
And here's the third running back that gets involved. The speed, and how about Xavier Worthy out there with a key block on Caesar to help spring Robinson on the edge. Big time explosive play there to move the chains.
So the Longhorns driving here in Fort Worth, leading by 6. Fourth quarter is coming up after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Heading into the Red River Showdown with Oklahoma next week, and the Longhorns are up by 6 heading to the fourth quarter here in Fort Worth, a place they haven't won in 8 years. First down in TCU territory. Play action pass. Thompson steps up and throws a deep ball. Overshoots the intended target, Xavier Worthy. There was some pressure at Thompson's feet.
And Dylan Horton continues to come right at his ankles. He's fighting, scratching, clawing multiple TCU defenders. That pass just too far for the speedster, Xavier Worthy.
Worthy a little dinged up here too on the sideline coming back.
And how about Tom? He's been targeted 5 times, no catches. He does have a few drops. Had 3 touchdowns last week. Thompson with a swing pass, and stumbling is Robinson. So not much there, maybe a yard. It'll be 3rd and long.
Well, TCU fortunate there. That pass was placed out in front perfectly for Keelan Robinson to catch it in stride and get up the sidelines. They had good blocking, but the old turf monster got him. Trips and falls, setting up 3rd and long.
Steve Sarkisian's first Big 12 road game as the Texas head coach. Thompson hasn't been good on 3rd down, but nobody has for Texas.
O'Shawn Mathis up top.
Back on the field, he was hurt earlier, and Robinson running right at him, and he bounces off of another would-be tackler and has a Longhorn first down.
Wow, what a play call there by Steve Sarkisian. He's going to put the ball in the hands of his best player. Excellent job blocking on the right side. It's the backup, Andre Carrick. It's also Junior Angalau. Really well done on that outside stretch. Opening up the hole in the burst.
Josh Foster couldn't make the tackle. Play action. Thompson throws a strike, and Weddington is free into the end zone. Touchdown, Texas.
Got to go for 2 here, try to make it a 2-touchdown game. Nice strike there from Casey Thompson to Jordan Whittington.
3rd touchdown catch of the year for Whittington. He made a big-time grab on a deep ball in the 3rd quarter. They want it on the right hash. Going for 2. And they're going to go empty and spread it out here.
Just throw it down here to Bijan. He's got blockers out in front.
Zed Thompson going the other way, and that one way off the mark. Noah Daniels in coverage on Joshua Moore, so it remains a 12-point game.
Well, when you can run the football, it opens up so much. Okay, because now we're going to get play action. We're going to get down, down. Middle of the field is going to be wide open. It's just going to be a simple slant there from Jordan Whittington. Backers are up, middle of the field's open, and a true freshman can't make a tackle. Texas up on top.
TN2 and ABC, including Oregon Stanford up next. Ducks number 3 in the country. They will not give Spielman an opportunity for a return. It'll be a touchback. Let's check in with Kevin Nagandi in the studio.
I think Booger likes those uniforms for Oregon. I got to tell you, I think Georgia's the best team in college football. No disrespect to Alabama, but man, That team is absolutely loaded this year.
Bama plays Ole Miss later. Play action here for Duggan into traffic. It's juggled and it is incomplete. Should have been picked, but instead it hits the ground.
Ooh, TCU so fortunate and lucky. Should have been a completion. Davis just drops it instead of using strong hands, lets it come to his body, and it was like a wrestling match for the football between Brockermeyer and Overshown. Both guys wanted it, and either comes down with it. Missed opportunity for the fourth takeaway for the Texas defense.
Texas has only given up 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns all season. That's what TCU needs to have a chance to win the game. Longhorns were 3 of 3 on third down on that last drive, after going 2 for 10 prior to that. Big reason why they've got that 12-point lead now, their largest of the day. DeMercado with the carry and gets maybe 2. Ojimo is there.
See? Keandre Coburn knows. He knows what defensive linemen are taught to do.
I thought it was a pick, right?
Thought it was an interception. He's going to go locate the quarterback and get a block, and he's telling the official, see? Just doing what I was coached.
Poor Duggan's going with. They didn't catch the ball.
Big man in the middle has been a key cog for this Texas defense.
So 3rd and 8. TCU trying to avoid kicking it right back to that hot Texas offense. And Duggan's pass off the mark. Would have been well short of the line to gain. Looked like Sweat got a hand on the ball.
He did.
Down.
If you're not going to get to the quarterback as a defensive lineman, if you can get in the throwing lane and affect the pass, get that hand up, it's exactly what you're coached to do. Well done there by Devondre Sweat.
And here's the problem now. If you're TCU, you're going to kick it back to Texas, and they're just going to hand it off. Try to milk the clock, and they have been able to stop.
And that defense got almost no rest time, Dave. Back on the field quickly after the quick 3 and out.
They haven't been able to stop Robinson all day. Deshaun Jamison, they got to worry about him first. Excellent return man is deep. And it's a short punt. Fair catch at the 42. Texas trying to win on the TCU campus for the first time since 2013.
College football on ABC is presented by Arby's. We have the meats.
Oh, there are a lot of people that stepped up around the country when New Orleans was devastated by Hurricane Ida. One of those was the TCU program opening up its facilities so the Saints could move here and practice here and get ready for the season. You see what TCU has done recently against Texas, winning 6 of 7, but trailing by 12, and Texas is back on the field.
Great opportunity here for this Texas team to show some maturity and grow as a program. You're on the road, conference game, you're ahead, you're kind of hot over the last 2 weeks. Show you can close this thing out.
Fought through some adversity here. Hasn't gone perfect, but find themselves up 2 scores with the ball in the 4th quarter.
Robinson again with the cutback. They can't stop this guy. I don't know that anybody can. Can Oklahoma next week? We'll find out. Robinson, another gain of 10+.
I mean, the jump cut, the vision, and then the burst. Gets to the edge with ease, and another big chunk run for Bijan Robinson.
17 yards on that carry, 149 on the day and 2 touchdowns. Here's another run. He breaks another tackle, and it takes 14 TCU defenders to get him to the ground.
And then this time, no jump cut, hits it downhill right now. A nice hole opened up off the right side of the offensive line. Center Jake Major has been doing good work in there today. And, you know, once again, a credit to this Texas offensive line. They lose Denzel Okafor early. They got to move Kerstetter around, bring in a backup, yet they still continue to plow the way.
Robinson again getting the edge inside the 20-yard line. Run out of bounds at the 10, 17 more yards for Bijan Robinson.
Well, how about the block by Brewer? Okay, we're going to see Brewer's going to come off, get the kick out. It's going to start here and then work its way all the way back for Bijan Robinson. Nice job by Brewer, logging that outside defender, and then the vision The jump cutting ability by Bijan Robinson, it's almost like a broken record at this point, Dave.
Yep, and Roschon Johnson getting a rep here. Thompson hands it to him, and Johnson down to about the 4. I wonder if they score here. Do we see Bijan Robinson the rest of the day? Do they just say, you know, we need to rest him, not given he's had 25 carries? Do we want, you know, if we're up by 19 points, do we need him out there?
I would say no. 30 total touches. He's up over 200 yards combined. $180 on the ground, 22 receiving.
It's a great way to get Keelan Robinson some hits too.
Correct. It's not like you don't have other guys that can put in there and be productive. Roschon Johnson is in there again on 2nd and goal. Penalty marker is down. Dead ball penalty.
Snap infraction, number 65, offense, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
It's on the freshman center, Jake Majors. Texas wins. It'll be 4-1. It'll be the best start for a first-year coach at Texas since Fred Akers, who passed away a year ago. Sark, 3rd head coaching opportunity, 8th year as a head coach, USC and Washington. Wasn't worried at all about recent history with TCU. Said don't believe the lie when watching the tape. Here's a pitch to Worthy inside the 5. Worthy shoved out of bounds at the 1 by Hodge. 3rd and goal coming up, and a must-stop situation for TCU.
Well, Xavier Worthy's had some issues today catching the football, but he's been good on the perimeter blocking. And the little flip there, and you see the speed on the edge, runs through the tackle of Travius Hodges-Tomlinson. Typically a corner, but with some guys down. He's been playing a lot in the second half as a safety. Didn't bring quite enough to the table on that. See if TCU can get a stop. A stop here, guys, keeps this a 2-score game.
You'd think 4-down territory, though, right? At this point for Texas, Gary Patterson's going to call timeout.
TCU takes their first charge timeout of the half. 30 seconds in left.
Don't know if that's a situation where he wanted to call timeout. He didn't look happy with something about his defense. Back in a moment. Texas may be looking to put the game away here with a 12-point lead and 3rd and goal coming up. The Texas defense been much better since that first quarter, giving up just 6 points. Allowed 35 to Texas Tech next week. They've got Spencer Rattler and the Oklahoma offense, which has not yet got untracked.
TCU got to find a way to come up with a stop if they're going to stay in this game in the 4th quarter. Feels like a touchdown here puts this thing away. Shocked if it's not number 5 getting a touch.
They got Richardson in at fullback. Robinson, and he did not get into the end zone. The ball came out too, but they're going to rule him down at the 1. It'll be 4th down, and Texas will go for it.
Big stop, defensive line getting some push. Nice job there by 6, Jamoy Hodge. That has not been an easy task to bottle up Bijan Robinson this afternoon.
4th down and goal from the 1. If TCU has any chance of coming back, it has to stop the Longhorns here.
Any doubt of who's getting this ball, Dave?
Give it to 5.
Robinson. No, he did not get in. TCU was better. Terrell Cooper met him at the point of attack. The Horned Frogs still have life.
Well, the Frogs backed up against the goal line, and they come out swinging. They say, we're not going down just yet. They bow their necks, and they keep Bijan Robinson out of the end zone. Excellent job by Terrell Cooper, by D. Winters. Right down the line, big boy football, and a huge stop. Cooper Winters come up big for Gary Patterson, this defense, and for now, keep the Frogs in this game.
TCU, though, is barely outside the end zone here, inside the 1. You would imagine Zach Evans will get a carry here to try to give him some breathing room, or will they let Duggan throw the ball? Nope, Evans out to about the 7 and keeps the feet churning. Again, we've talked a lot about Robinson for good reason, but Zach Evans is right there.
Both backs over 100 yards today. That makes a $110 for Zach Evans. Different style of runners, but both unbelievably talented and effective.
9-yard pickup on first down from their 1-yard line. 2nd and inches. Evans again. Keeps his balance and gets the first down. Pushed back by Brockermeyer and Jacoby Jones, but that'll move the sticks.
Just keeps those legs churning. Tough piece of running, fighting through the arm tackle.
These two dudes are going to play for a long, long time.
I think both guys could play right now at the next level.
You're probably right.
We talked yesterday with Bijan Robinson. He's got a lot of respect for what Zach Evans brings to the table.
Time a factor here too for TCU. 8.5 to go, down 2 touchdowns. Evans looking for some running room. Fist fighting on the sideline and out of bounds after a short gain. Let's go to Kevin. All right, Kevin, here we're closing on 8 minutes to go. TCU down 12. Duggan throws complete out near the 20-yard line. Quincy Brown on the catch. Again, they had to burn a timeout on defense, so 2 left with 8 minutes to go.
Like to start seeing some sense of urgency. Down, going to score 2 touchdowns, not just 2 scores, but 2 touchdowns. 8 minutes to go, and you still got to go 81 yards.
Kendra Miller is the back. 3rd down and 2. Got to make this one count inside your 20-yard line. Miller. No, it was a keeper by Duggan. Fooled everybody. There were multiple Texas defenders that ran right by Duggan. Didn't think he had the ball, and it's a first down.
Excellent read by Duggan. Backside defender closes to try to tackle the running back. Opens up a nice running lane and a first down.
Now they got to hustle here. 7:15 and counting. Duggan. Everybody covered, so he takes off again. Elects not to slide. Brought down by Jones in the 32 for a gain of 6.
Dusty, they're going to have to start taking some shots downfield. We've had virtually no intermediate to vertical passing game out of this offense today, and now they're going to have it sooner or later.
No question, Tom. Tick tock, tick tock. The clock continues to wind down.
Too much time off the clock here. Down to 17 on the play clock. Duggan finds Spielman over the middle into Texas territory. They don't blow the whistle. Boy, I mean, forward progress was stopped 5 seconds ago. Now they blow it dead to move the chains.
That was surprising there, Dave. What are they waiting on? It's a nice find by Max Duggan over the middle of the field. As Spielman came open in that window, Max Duggan with a dart over the middle.
25-yard pickup, Duggan to throw again. Over the middle again. And it's caught inside the 35-yard line for a first down by Barber. Clock will stop to reset the chains. 6:16 to go.
Couple of nice, confident, intermediate throws with good accuracy and velocity from Max Duggan.
9th play. This drive started on the TCU 1. Duggan dumps it off. And brought down immediately is Miller after a gain of about 3. TCU's got to go faster now. You're inside the 30.
Inside the 30. Clock now under 6 minutes to play.
Texas continue to be conservative. We'll see if they come after Duggan here. And a rush 4 again. Duggan has to elude 1 man. And finds Miller inside the 20. Inside the 15, finally thrown out of bounds at the 11-yard line by Jamison, but that's a 15-yard pickup.
Think about where this drive started on the 1-yard line after a goal line stand. The toughness and fight from TCU is real, but they are not a huge rush as they continue to let precious time tick off the clock, Dave.
They got to get moving.
Yeah, hard to understand, guys. I mean, you're inside the 15 here. Duggan in trouble, steps up. Wrapped up at about the 7. Gain of 4. Next snap will come inside 5 minutes.
Good coverage and a smart decision by Duggan not to try to fit something where it didn't belong. Just take what you can get, live to fight another day.
That time they snapped it quickly. Miller looking for the edge inside the 5, lunging, and comes up short of the line to gain by about a yard. 3rd down, 4-down territory, obviously, with 4.5 remaining.
Jay Foster with a touchdown-saving tackle. And if you're Max Duggan, get your guys lined up.
Zach Evans not in the game, but they're very comfortable with Kendre Miller. They'll give it to him here on 3rd down and puts his shoulder down and is into the end zone for the TCU touchdown.
And just like that, we've got a ball game. J.D. Spillman with an excellent block from the slot. Pins overshown inside and allows Miller to get to the edge as he walks in for a Horned Frog touchdown.
With 4:23 remaining, so we'll see, does TCU kick it deep? You'd think there's enough time, or do they go for the onside? Again, they had to burn a timeout on defense.
I think you got to kick it deep, Dave.
Kell for the point after. So it's a 5-point Texas lead with 4:23 to go. So TCU back within a score here in Fort Worth late. Up on ESPN, ESPN2, and ABC, including Oregon, Stanford next. Dave Pasch, Dusty Dvorak, Tom Luganville in Fort Worth. TCU has not recovered an onside kick in 7 years. Will the Horned Frogs try it here, or will they kick it deep with 2 timeouts remaining within 5?
I'm kicking it deep here, Dave.
Look who's deep.
They will, and this will be a touchback, so no time off the clock. Take a look at this week's AP rankings brought to you by AT&T 5G. Alabama ranked number 1. Boy, with what Georgia did to Arkansas. I mean, look at that, 37-0.
A couple of statement wins by top 5 teams. Georgia just on another level right now early on this season, and watch that Iowa-Maryland game last night. Very impressive.
Meanwhile, there was a penalty on TCU. It's like 5 yards added to the kick.
So this was the exact same situation TCU found themselves in a week ago. SMU was up 8 after a TCU score. 4 minutes or so left, and SMU was able to grind it out, run the football, get the first downs, and win the game. Can the TCU defense come up with a stop and give Max Duggan the offense one more try?
They're going to run Robinson, and another big lane for Robinson to run. He's up to the 38-yard line, 8 yards there, and he's at 189 rushing yards on 30 carries today.
It's the bread and butter. It's the outside zone with a quality cutback and good vision from Bijan Robinson.
And that's the danger with kicking it deep. They haven't been able to stop him all day. Obviously, your chances of recovering an onside kick aren't good, but given them with, you have 2 timeouts and not 3. If Texas gets a couple first downs, this game's probably over.
Are they better than stopping the run? That's the question they had to ask themselves.
2nd and 2. Robinson again, and he's got the first down. Clock will stop to reset the chains, but again, Texas going to bleed that clock. They won't snap it till about 3 minutes to go.
TCU going to hold on to its timeouts for right now.
You would think, though, right after this first down play,
absolutely,
they burn that first one.
Absolutely, have to. Texas offense leaning on that run game today. 250 yards on the ground. Follow up the 336-yard performance with another impressive showing with the ground game.
They call Robinson's number again, and this time they got him. No gain. Jamoy Hodge was there for TCU along with O'Shawn Mathis, so Gary Patterson will use a timeout here. That will leave him with one. So if Texas wins this game, and you've got Oklahoma next week, what do you think this says about the Longhorns? They're one loss at Arkansas, and they'd be 2-0 in conference play. Do you start to buy them a little bit if they hang on and win this game?
I think you absolutely have to. I mean, look, Steve Sarkisian has done a really nice job in his first season taking over this program. I just see a confident football team. I mean, clearly they can run the football. Casey Thompson hasn't had his best day, but with your ability to establish the line of scrimmage, feature a guy like Bijan Robinson, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with throughout the course of Big 12 play.
And the defense cleaned things up here. That first quarter wasn't good, but it's a TCU offense that can put points on the board. And they, for the most part, until that last drive, it shut them down the last two quarters.
No question. I thought big improvements this week for Pete Kwiatkowski's defense. But it all comes down to this. Can they get another first down and ice this game away?
Robinson. So about 4 yards. TCU will use its final timeout. 3rd down and 6. Take a look at what Bijan Robinson has been able to do to that TCU defense today.
Well, the contact balance and the ability to make people miss is absolutely off the charts. And I remember talking with Sark earlier in the summer, Big 12 media days, asked him, what's the amount of carries? How many touches? He said, as many as we need. And it's taken every bit of that today. 36 total touches for Bijan Robinson. And he's looking to eclipse 200 yards. And what a key opportunity this will be for a big 3rd down for this Texas offense.
Do you take a chance here if you're Steve Sarkisian to throw the ball? 3rd and 6, you get the first down, the game's over. Or are you running it?
I would potentially give my quarterback a run pass option. If it's not there, I'm not taking any chances, and I'm keeping it on the ground.
Robinson slips a couple tackles, drives forward, and he's going to be close. I think he got it. What a run. Bijan Robinson putting on a performance today. He just won the game with that second effort.
And that puts him over 200. It's what we've seen all day. Cade Brewer gets out in front, makes 2 Horned Frog defenders miss, and you see the effort pushing his way for that first down. He stopped right there, a yard short. Gets a little help from his big offensive lineman. That run pretty much epitomizes what we've watched this entire afternoon.
First Texas back since Deontay Foreman 5 years ago to have a 200-yard game on the ground. TCU can't stop the clock. Robinson again. Drives the pile. Look at that. Man, it took the whole team to tackle him. And I'm not using figurative language.
I'll tell you what, as well as he can create on his own, he's got deceptive power. I mean, his leg drive, he's a lot stronger than he gets credit for.
No question. And give this offensive line credit for the 3rd straight week. They were dominated against Arkansas.
Embarrassed.
And Kyle Flood, the offensive line coach, challenged these guys. And so did Steve Sarkisian. And they came back against Rice and they ran it down their throat. And they came back against Texas Tech and they ran it down their throat. And here, 273 yards on the ground. We're going to give Bijan a lot of credit, as well we should. But you also got to give a lot of credit to this Texas offensive line. Has shown huge improvement from where they were in week number 2 to where they are now. Going to start Big 12 play 2-0 and setting up a big matchup in Dallas next weekend.
You know, you're talking about people believing in Texas. Do you trust them? Do you believe in them? I think it's good to win a game in the fashion and win the way they're going to hopefully win this one if they keep possession of the ball, because it became tougher today.
It needs to be tough, right? You need to fight through adversity, and everybody knew Everybody knew coming into this game, Gary Patterson's team was going to show up. They were going to fight. They were going to push Texas and this football team, and that's exactly what happened. You can grow so much as a team by going on the road, fighting through some adversity, and finding a way to win. You don't always want it to be blowouts.
Right.
You need to be challenged. You need to be pushed, and they were pushed here today and passed the test.
So next week, about 30 minutes from here, it'll be Texas, Oklahoma. And no one has averaged more yards per game from scrimmage over the last 9 in college football than Bijan Robinson. I wonder if he jumps into the Heisman conversation if this keeps up. What a performance. They could not stop him. Can Oklahoma next week? We'll find out. What should be a great game in Dallas. Final score here, Texas 32, TCU 27. The Longhorns improved to 4-1. They win in Fort Worth for the first time since 2013. For Dusty Dvorak, Tom Luganbill, this is Dave Pasch saying so long from Fort Worth. After a Texas win, 32-27. Let's go to the studio and Kevin Negandhi.